Are you constantly putting out fires? I want you to know that it doesn't have to be that way, that you can actually have a law practice where you're not constantly putting out fires and where if there is a true emergency, you've got it handled and you can be calm, cool, and collected instead of running around like a chicken with its head cut off. I'm Dina Cataldo. I am a master certified coach for lawyers who are tired of feeling overwhelmed and letting that overwhelm prevent them from living into a higher version of themselves, from living bigger into their lives. That was me for a while. I found myself a full time criminal prosecutor working 70 hours a week, and I knew I was meant for something bigger, something more. But I couldn't even get my head quiet enough. I couldn't even give myself time to figure out what that was and to start acting on it. And so that's why I'm sharing with you in these videos tips that I learned and some tools that I've created for you to help make your life easier so you can live into that version of you that you know is there. You're just not able to tap into them right now because you don't have the time. So here's what I want to share with you. Emergencies are not something that should prevent you from creating a calendar because a calendar is a problem solving tool. It will help you problem solve emergencies. It will also help you anticipate fires that you can put out ahead of time. You don't even have to worry about them. And one of the tools that I've created for you that I want you to download is the Lawyer's Daily Success Worksheet. It's one page. So if you don't have a calendar right now, this is a great starting point for you. You can download a few of these and you can just do one a day. You could do one for each day of your week and plan ahead of time, but you will begin to see how to strategize your days and your weeks and to improve them and help you follow through. You can download the guide at dinacataldo.com/daily success. It's a worksheet. It's just a one-page worksheet. Go to dinacataldo.com/daily success. It's going to help you so much. It's beautiful. It's simple. So I want you to think about your calendar as a tool. It is a tool to help you have a better relationship with time. And most of us have a horrible relationship with time. We're always telling ourselves we never have enough of it, that time is against us, that we're always behind, and it's time, there's just not enough time. And the work that we're getting is pulling us behind. I want you to know that the relationship that you have with time is a reflection of how much time you're going to have. And when we start cultivating a better relationship with time, we begin to have more of it and we begin to want to look at our time. So often we feel so bad about what we're not doing that we think we should be doing. We don't even bother planning a calendar because it feels horrible. There's no reason to feel horrible. And what I want to do is help you feel better and feel more in control of your time. And this daily success worksheet is one way to do that. Another way to do that is to start understanding the nature of emergencies. So there's two kind of emergencies. One are the emergencies that take over your day, right? And that you could not plan for. Emergencies that you could not anticipate, like a person in your family having to go to the hospital that day, or your back being thrown out and you needing to go to a chiropractor or a somatic therapist. Like those are things that you can categorize under emergencies. They're not something that you can plan on your calendar. Now, there's other things that feel like emergencies that may not be an emergency. Okay, so I want you to evaluate this for yourself. Maybe you have, this is my favorite example, you have a child who has a tantrum every morning before you leave for the office. So that's not really an emergency. That's something you can plan for ahead of time. You know that, like clockwork, when you leave for the office at 7 a.m., your child is going to have a tantrum. It's going to last about 15-20 minutes. And then after that, then you can leave. There's no reason for you to be 15-20 minutes behind in your day, right? Because you can just plan to wake up a little bit earlier, to go to sleep a little bit earlier, and just decide that you're going to leave a little bit earlier so that that tantrum doesn't get in the way of what you have planned for the day. You actually plan for the tantrum, right? Or if you have a big project and it's due a month out, and you're not working on it until the Wednesday before the Friday that it's due, that's not an emergency. That's not something that needs to take over your calendar if you are planning ahead of time. So, for instance, when I'm making plans, I like to kind of sketch out big things that are on my calendar for the month, but I break that all down. So I know on my calendar about when things are due or when I want them to be due because I run my own business, so I get to decide that. And then I plan backwards. I start to say, okay, I want to give myself a lot of time to do one part of an assignment. I just break it down into the smallest pieces and then I put those things on my calendar one at a time. So while I give you this daily success guide to plan your day, the ultimate freedom that you're going to get is by beginning to plan your week. Because then, even if you have that project due on Friday, rather than waiting until Wednesday, you're going to look at your Monday and you're going to say, okay, let's take a look at this. What needs to have my attention this week? You'll be able to break down that big project on Friday and you'll be able to break it down into smaller pieces, right? Like research, calling somebody, writing a brief. You're breaking it down into the smallest pieces, sending part of that brief off for review, re editing it. You get an opportunity on Monday morning to break it all down and then put those pieces on your calendar and know that that gets your attention before anything else. And you get to solve for any of the what our brain says is an emergency, right? Is like trying to get something off for review, get somebody to look at an email. You get an opportunity to solve for that ahead of time because you're sending it early enough in your week that you're going to be able to put it all together for your due date on Friday. What most of us do is we wait until the last minute. Have you ever had that happen where you have lawyers who are like suddenly on you? Like they're like, when are you going to get this? When are you going to get this? When are you going to do this? And you're like, hey, chill, I'll get to it when I get to it. But what they're doing is they haven't planned ahead of time. And so they're really freaked out. They're really nervous. But if you're planning ahead of time on your Monday or even like better weeks before, you can then just say, all right, I've got this. And you just keep reminding yourself, I've put this on the calendar. I know what I'm doing. I've set it all up. Slow and steady wins the race, right? It's all there on my calendar. A calendar is a wonderful tool for us to take all that stress and anxiety and remind ourselves it's taken care of. If it's put on the calendar, you don't have to think about it. You just know you look at your calendar. And this is one of the things that we neglect to remind ourselves of when we just jump into our day instead of starting a calendar up and like working on that calendar, devoting time to it on Monday morning. When we don't sit down and plan, we're creating more anxiety, we're creating more stress in our life, we're creating that overwhelm. It's all on us. We create it. And when we start to realize that we're creating the stress and anxiety and the overwhelm, that's good news because then we know we can do something about it. And one of the tools I'm offering you is this daily success guide because it's going to help you start to plan ahead and problem solve time for your day. You're going to create a better relationship with time when you're not afraid to look at what you have on your plate. And when you're not afraid to look at what's on your plate, you begin to enjoy your life more. Now, here's what I want to share with you. Oftentimes, we don't start a calendar because we're scared to see what we have to do. And when we see everything that we have to do, our brain is going into overwhelm and it's saying, oh my God, I have so much to do. I'm never going to get all this done. I want you to notice those thoughts because those thoughts are what's between you and calming down your life and creating a life where you feel more peace in your practice. What I want to offer to you is notice those thoughts and notice how you feel in your body. Don't do anything. Don't reach for a phone. Don't check your email because that's usually what happens when we don't feel those feelings is we start to do busy work and we pull ourselves away from the most important tasks that we need to be doing. So rather than distracting yourself with checking your email, checking your phone, going to your, office partner or whatever to talk to them, I want you to just sit and feel. It's going to feel bad. You're going to feel like this overwhelm, maybe some heart palpitations, maybe you feel something in your stomach, maybe you notice shortness of breath or some tension in your shoulders, sit there with it. That's what overwhelm feels like. Just breathe. And it's okay to feel that feeling. What isn't helpful is you reacting from that feeling. Because when we feel overwhelmed and we don't notice it and we don't sit with it, we react to it. And the reaction to it is what hurts our long term plans. The reaction to it is what has you checking your email or getting lost in email limbo, going to social media, getting a cookie or another cup of coffee instead of just sitting down and getting to work. So allow yourself to feel that and just notice it and just say, oh, this is what overwhelm feels like. It's not a problem. I'm just going to sit here and breathe for a minute. And then instead of reaching for something to distract yourself, like a cookie, or that's my go to, I love cookies, or distract yourself with something like social media or email, sit down with the daily success planner and write down exactly what needs to get done. Look at your calendar and just tell yourself, okay, I just need to do this right now. Let's just do this. And when it's a project that's larger, I break it down into the smallest parts possible so I can get my brain on board to follow through. When we have a big project, our brain likes to go into overwhelm. And so it's important that we look at that project that we have maybe scheduled for 7 o'clock in the morning, 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and just say, okay, what are the smallest pieces of the project I can break this up to? Research, phone calls, emails, whatever it is, break that down. Put that on your calendar separately and then tackle each one at a time. Because then you're just telling your brain, I just need to tackle this phone call. That's all I have to do. All I have to do right now is just send out this email. All I have to do right now is just do some quick research or delegate this project. Makes it much easier to follow through when we can simplify for our brain, and then it won't get into the overwhelm as much. We've got to really pay attention to that because ultimately we're creating it, and so ultimately we're the only ones who can do anything about it. I've given you a tool. Go to dinacataldo.com/daily success and you can get started with this. I just suggest printing out 5 and using that all week, and you can plan ahead of time. It's beautiful. You're going to see exactly how it works. It's very self-explanatory, and you're going to learn how to improve your days incrementally. All right, my friend, next week we are going to be doing this again. I love doing these videos because you're able to see what a real practiced calendar looks like. And what I mean by that is you get to get real life information about how to deal with a calendar, because we tend to think that calendars should be really easy. They're not, because they require a different way of thinking, and we're not taught how to do that. So next week, we're going to talk about some of the mindset behind sitting down with a calendar and following through on it. We talked a little bit about that on the following through side today, but next week, we're going to start looking at how you think about your calendar and why that may be getting in the way of you sitting down and following through on it. All right, my friend, I hope you have a fabulous day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.